Okay, we're back again. I'm feeling a bit better. Need to get this Tortoise finished. So we're going to carry on painting. As I said before, finish the shell. All we have left to do is a little bit of touching up on the rear leg, this bottom leg and tail, and this front leg. So what I hope to do today in this video is to show you how I'm going to do the top part of the leg. I'll go off camera, I'll finish it, and I'll probably do a little bit of this and then come in and show you how I complete that and the rest of it, so it's all complete. One thing we have to also remember is it will need a shadow. Okay, so I have to consider that when we get to the end. I always do those things at the end. Now, this was made up of a picture that I found, if you remember this one. This is going into the rear side. The front side will have a bigger scaly effect on it. So I found 3 candidates I could possibly use to try and build this up. Excuse me, I'm going to start coughing and things. Anyway, this one has quite big scales and goes into smaller ones. Whether we could build that into the part up here, I don't know, because this is where the bend would be. Okay. So there's that option. Also notice I didn't realise this before when I designed this, but we could probably cut a little bit in there, maybe a little bit more here as well. But Tortoise's legs go thicker as they go down. You can see on this one it's quite thin there, and it gets into a big bulbous look. I didn't put that into the effect of this. Maybe I can change it, I don't know. Maybe I'll just keep it the way it is. I quite like the way these scales work. But we've got to try and think of a way to make it look quite effective, and also comparative to this. You notice that a lot of these start hooking over the lower ones as they go down, so I've got to try and give that effect. So what I'm going to do is I've got to try to use this colour scheme, which I've used here, and then build these. I've got to also use this as the background colour, because basically you'll see on most of these it has a kind of like a darker skin tone underneath the scales. Okay, so I've got to make an option quickly. I quite like this, so I can probably do a combination of this one and this one. You can see here how it works as well. Unfortunately I can't use the colour scheme on either of those because they're not working, so I'm going to keep this one open to help with the colour scheme, because that's how I used it for this one, and we'll see how we get on. Okay, now this has got to be on top of everything, including those handlebars. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the handlebars and then put a new layer above it. And using the brush tool, I'll have to pick the tool and brush we've been using. What I'm going to do is I've already selected the darker tone, which I used here. What I've got to do is now basically, I don't even have to worry about the actual ribbing effect, because they will go over the top of this. So I'm just going to loosely paint around this guide like I have done with the pencil. Say pencil, it's digital pencil. I believe I did all this inside a computer. And I can't really remember, it's been such a long time. Anyway, you'll notice some parts of this has gone over the pencil line and a bit down there, but some of it hasn't gone over the pencil line, which is a bit frustrating, because I'm going to just bring it out a little bit more than it should be, because I want to do that thickness like I said. I'm going to stop it there, and on this side just bring it a little bit more out further than it was on the line, just so I can help with that bulbous effect. Okay, so that's that. I'm just going to zip around those, because we're going to do those separately obviously. And that one. Like so. Once you've done that, you can just then get the paint bucket tool, zip it in, because obviously it's all enclosed. And I'm going to just do this. Don't worry too much about the colour if it's too dark or whatever. It could, obviously, as I've done with all the other parts of the painting, it could change as I paint the upper part. I want to get rid of that guideline. I put those guidelines on when I do my animal prints because it gives me options for the different types of prints that many people ask for. So it just gives a good guide to know where to keep all the detail for the images. You don't want them outside an area where it's going to be cut off when you print it, for instance. So it's always good to mark your minimum and maximum print sizes. Okay, so that's that done. I'm just wondering if I could use some of this colour scheme as well, because it's not that far from that one, and maybe bring in some of this dark scaling effect. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose this colour. I'm not going to follow this here because it's not even close to how it's supposed to be. I just did it roughly as a guide. You see this one here, I'm just trying to roughly put this in. Like so. And then you could have another rough one over the top of that. Don't worry about how loose these look. I'm going to obviously fill the detail in later. I should have really done that on a different layer just in case I start messing up, but it doesn't matter. I'll consider myself a professional, so I can make a few mistakes and know how to correct them. I'm just following the rough design of these scales just so I can get a kind of a feeling about how to move forward. Like so. Now this is where we need to start thinking about getting them to go over the edge. And you'll notice it starts getting lost against the okay. Like so. I'm gonna have that one going up to the edge, but then create it okay like that. And this one's gonna stick out here, and so forth. Okay. Now you can see how I've created this to follow that rough design from nature, as it were. This is one of the reasons I actually use reference pictures, because I wouldn't have never have thought of designing these scales in this way. So it's always good to look at something to know how nature did it, and then you can use it as a good guide. Like so. Now you see, for instance, this one, I think that one would be better if it created a little up thing, and then we could create another scale like that. Now I don't want to do all these because I'm just going to show you how to do some of them in detail, and then obviously I can finish them off camera, and then we can come back and hopefully the rest of that leg will be done. It just saves a little bit of time, because I realise some of these videos are quite extensive in their time scale. Okay, so I'm not going to use the colour scheme on this. I'm going to use the colour scheme on this because it relates more to this leg here. Okay, now you notice there's this really nice shape here which is roughly the same as that, but because the lighting is coming from this side, you see this difference in the colours. What I want to do is probably let's take this pencil off because I don't need that. Put the darker shade, make sure it's on blend, which is, it's not really blend, but it's just changing the opacity and the flow. What that really does is it just allows you to have some of the bottom colours coming through, which then obviously blends it, which helps me a lot. I think it gives it a kind of a more natural feel, because you'll tend to find that a lot of the colours when you're painting with oils or something start blending in the same method. Whereas if in a digital format, if you're just basically putting everything on 100%, it will have always horrible block colouring, which I don't really like. I just like a more natural view and feel. I think it needs to go down even more, so I'm going to put it around about 79. Okay, just give some quirky little lumps and things along the way while you're painting. That'll just give it a more natural feel again. Now this is where you start blending, because you just pick the mid-tone where you've got a part of it that's cutting in. And so then we've got to do just that bit there darker. Now what we've got to do as well, saying that, you'll notice that this one's got actually quite a big cut in into there, and then it's got some alternate functions in the deformation of the now I want to put quite a bit of this black in, because you'll notice on the actual picture you have these artifacts, that's the best way of putting it, artifacts appearing in the gaps, like a little bit of white and a little bit of like this. And again, that's just going to make your picture look a little bit more real and natural, because it breaks up the whole idea that it's just a flat colour. Again, you can't see how many changes in colour there are in this. For instance, you see the difference in that colour there. That's from that base colour that I use over from the other side. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is obviously blend some of this colour. I don't want to get all that colour. If I just blend down the centre, it will make that kind of ridge a little bit softer, like it is in the picture. Like so. But you will notice, look, if I select that, I don't know if you notice this, if I roll over, that's the colour sampler. That was the previous colour I selected from here. You see it's almost the same now. If you click there, it will show you the difference in the colours. So it's always good to just move around and see if you can actually see a slight change in the colour, so you can actually choose one that's going to be more effective for you. And you'll notice here there's some kind of ridges of darkness appearing. That's even got a line going through it there, so which means I will have to do a little thing like that. Okay, it also has got a highlight point. It's got a shock then. I think I told you in one of the videos that around about 5 o'clock my time, which it is now if you can see the clock, it's when some parts of America start waking up and you start getting all your junk mail messages coming through and such like, or even necessary emails. I just got a big blast of email coming in. It's quite good in one sense, because you know, if I'm doing this and these emails start clicking in and everything, I know that some important emails might come if I've got some work in America or something, because you know when the Americans are basically getting up and starting to look at their work day and everything. Most of my emails pop in from American companies and sites that I sell on, so you can have quite a nice relaxing most of the morning, and then all of a sudden, like I said, a little around 5 o'clock, everything starts going chaotic. You see, it doesn't look like there's a difference in colour there, but there is, and it just gives that enough of a difference, especially when you're blending it on that top part, just to give it a kind of a value. Okay, I'm quite happy with that. As I said, the scheme isn't going to be much the same as this. It's going to be more like this, so I've got to be aware of doing all those little things, but try to avoid as much as possible this kind of thick spacing. I'm just going to give it some of that natural thing like that. Okay, quite happy with that one. And move on to the next one. Now what we want to do is try to find something that kind of represents the idea that the colours, the light's going to come from this direction. You see the light's probably stronger this way, so I'm not sure. Hang on, let me see if I could probably just flip this so we can get at least the right angle on the colour values. Okay, so I'm going to choose this colour now. Oops. Now you see, you've got to make sure you choose the colour the layer you're working on, because I've done this before. I've been painting on one that I've just selected, like that one, painting away, and then I delete it and I go back to do some more work on the piece I just painted, and I realise it's completely gone because I've deleted the reference layer. So you have to be very careful that you choose the layer you're working on. Okay, now there will be some light coming from this direction because you'll have such things as ambient light and reflective light, so don't worry too much about if you need to put some highlighting on, but also the colour values of the scale is set that there is a kind of a fake colorized highlight effect here. It's just the way that the patterning of the actual scale is, so don't worry too much about all this. I'm going to have to use a darker tone around here, which is not actually inside the I think you heard my dog before in another video. She's always with me, sleeping on the sofa at the moment, but if someone comes near to our house becomes an amazing uproar of barking and things. I suppose that's what she's good for. Natural alarm clock. Alright, kind of sense these look a little bit like teeth. Not that your teeth are that bad, but the way I actually painted some teeth in a book that I did once, and this is kind of like the approach you have when you're painting teeth. You start on this dark edging and you slowly build up the highlighting, and eventually it looks quite like a nice effective tooth. But see, there's a bit of natural highlighting there, which is probably reflective lighting. Okay. Going to keep that little line, and then the final thing will be to add this highlighting, which will be from the light source over here, you see, so it all works out the way I said it would be. Okay, so that's the second one. You can see how we're going to build this up slowly. I'll try and do one on the edges, because there's kind of a stranger approach to the edge ones, because they're showing more of their deep in-cut parts than the other side. So what we're going to do is just do this. And what I think is going to help here is if I just do more of this natural inlay stuff. I forgot to do it around here as well. That's so. Okay. Do it there like that. And what I'm going to do here is put. You remember this one? It's got always kind of ribbing effect. What I need to do is try to start building some of that in, so you can see that you don't want this set of scales looking completely unfamiliar to the other side, because then it wouldn't look like it's the same leg, and it looks like I've taken two tortoises, which theoretically I have actually, but I've got to make it look like it's from the same tortoise. Now way I can do that probably is to use the same colour scheme. Okay, so that's that one done. You see, so how quickly you can get these knocked in if you're aware of how to make them look effective. As I said, I don't want to do too many, because I notice these videos are getting a little bit lengthy, and I just don't want you to sit around, watching me doing the same scales over and over again. Maybe you find it interesting, I don't know. More reason for me to chat about strange things. I think I mentioned before that these scales are actually made out of the same stuff your fingernails are made out of. There you go, there's another email. So basically these scales are just really highly compressed hair, and like a rhino horn, like our fingernails, lots of other things, and it makes them intensely strong, which obviously helps protect the tortoise. I'm not sure how much force that these scales could hold, but in a perfect world you wouldn't expect these tortoises to bump into serious predators. They're just minor predators that would want to eat them, and they can just hide in their shell. Nowadays you've got humans driving around in cars squashing them by mistake or on purpose, which is really annoying. Saying that's if you're living somewhere where you get we have wild tortoises here in Greece, and I used to spend my summers when we used to go to the beach picking them up and protecting them by moving them off the road, because some people just don't stop for them, and it's really a shame, because obviously they're very slow moving things, hence the purpose of this this illustration. So I just wanted to do my best to help them on their way without the idea that they had to avoid that unnecessary connection with human beings, which can be fatal sometimes, unfortunately. I think I've saved over 15 or so, not on the same day, but when we're going backwards and forwards. You can spot them a mile away, because the road's grey, and then it's just this little lump that's casually moving across the highway. I'll say it in American way, the highway, the road we call it. And it's just not. And the thing is, they don't run away because they can't. So you can catch them quite quickly and just help them. Not like some other animals that you try to help in the wild. As soon as they see you, it's fight or flight, and usually it's flight, and it's very hard to actually get to them before they decide to do this manoeuvre, and so you don't know whether they're safe, whether they've been injured or whatever. Whereas tortoises, it's quite simple. You know, they're not going to get very far away from you. Anyway, I'm going to probably finish on this one so we can stop the video, and I'll just do a few more, probably build around here, and then I'll come back, because what I want to show you as well is how to do the fingernails. Okay, so we'll stop it there, and when I come back I should try to finish by down to about the halfway line. Okay, so I've been hacking away at these scales, as you can see. Oh, I missed one. I'll just do that one for you because I've missed it. Thought I'd done them all at the top. Anyway, I've been patching them all in. It looks quite nice. I think it works as what I want it to do. Let's just close those off. Okay, kind of like similar to this, but it has more interest. Kind of like feathers actually, aren't they? And I also painted the bottom leg in whilst I was off camera. Okay, let's just finish this one off, and then these ones at the bottom, and then I'll close for today and finish the rest of the recording tomorrow by doing the rest of the arm and the bottom leg. Okay, so let's just pop in reference one. Now what you do is, I just, like for instance, if I choose that because it's on this side, I'm just going to quickly bash in the highlight area, and remembering that this is going to be slightly darker because obviously the light's going from this way, like so, and then take some of the base colouring, looks like I've already done some of the base colouring, but doesn't have to do a bit more. Remembering to do some of these kind of growth lines, like so. Okay, and I think based on all the other ones around, you can see that probably will do for that kind of scale up there. But all the rest I've followed this one, given these ridges on these ones, because I think it kind of works a little bit better, even though these aren't constant ridges. But I'm gonna just add ridges to these two using the same rough colour scheme. I think once you get these shapes in place, like I have here, the actual colouring can come very easily and quickly. Like I've been doing these for the last maybe 20 minutes since you last saw the video. It's quite good, really. I wouldn't have thought I'd have done it that quickly, but what I'm going to do, you see, I've got this one's got a little indent. I'm going to do another indent on this one. Like so, I might even do two. There you go. Like so, and what you have to do then is to do this upward crease effect. So just blend it together at the end there, like that. And just to make it a little bit more highlighted, do that, and do that there. Now this has got a bigger highlight around that edge anyway. What we need to do is just to bring some of that down, just to patch it all together. Now, apart from the centre line being a little bit more highlighted, you've got these stronger highlights. I want to change the position as much as I can from the original one, because I don't want it to look like I've just literally kind of cloned the whole thing. So that's that side done, but we need to add a little bit of this grunging effect around the bottom part, so I'm going to choose that colour there to do the dark part, but I'm going to choose this orangey colour to add a little bit more grunge there, like so. That's that little error. Which haunts me. Okay, and on this side I'm going to carry on this kind of notion of having quite a lot of the grunging. Don't know whether Tortoises naturally have grunging. Okay, but for a start we're going to have to do a kind of replica of this. I'm going to just do it slightly different. I'm not going to do it exactly the same as the other ones. Let's get back to this grunging. I suppose it's just convenient to call it grunging. Dirtying, or whatever you want to call it, or weathering. That's probably a better way of putting it. It's a bit of natural weathering on the elements. Like so. What I'm doing, if you can't tell, is I'm actually just dabbling on the edge parts, just to give it that little blending, like you would with a brush, dabbling brush, just to join the two edges together by not having a solid line. Now you may notice that, for instance, you can see kind of how I built it up, so what you can do is just take a general colour and then just brush across it, and what that does is it actually neutralises some of those edge lines that you've just created, like so. Okay, I think I do need some kind of highlight there. Okay, and just to finish off, we're going to have that kind of orangey colour, and I'm going to make it so it comes all the way down to the end. And then we're going to do the darker surrounding line, like so. And obviously, as I usually do, is I take the blackish brown colour I've got and just trim it all up to make it look nice and sweet. And there we go. Okay, now this one's going to be a kind of a reflection of this, which is quite solid white, but I want to add some of this kind of effect down this side. So what we're going to do is just quickly do that. So, okay, I've got to keep it on the time because I tend to do something at 7 o'clock. It's been a long day today as well. I started around 6:30 this morning because I've got my commission work, but I've also got other things which make a little money, but I have to do them when I can because they don't make instant money. I have to put them online to sell and whatever. So that's been kind of like a thing I've been doing today. It's just part and parcel of being freelance. Risk factors you put into your daily workload. Okay, so that's that one basically done. See how quickly they come in. I have to tell you that this is my third attempt at these scales because I tried them yesterday twice. I don't know, it's because I was still slightly ill from this thing I had a bug or whatever it was, I don't know, but it wasn't working. So this is my third attempt, and I'm quite happy it's actually kind of working out this time. See there, I'm going to put a little bit more actual colour because that's where the light is. So, and we're just going to do those middle section parts, which just give it kind of a feeling that there is actually something underneath these scales, like so. Right, I won't do any of the other ones actually. I'm going to finish there because basically these are going to look roughly the same as the other two. So what you'll have next time when I start the video is this whole hand will probably be complete. I'll probably maybe leave the nails to show how I paint the nails, but all the scaling will be done, and I may even start doing a little bit of this just to get the process going. I'll show you the picture I found for that. It's not that one. I've got a combination of this one and this one. Okay, so I'm going to use both to give kind of a representation of what it looks like. If we just put the pencil line on, you see most of it looks similar to how this one is, because this one's pulled more, and this one's got the ribbing that's kind of evident here, but I quite like these little black dots all the way around the toes around this one. So I'll probably again use a combination of the two, and we'll build it up, and a lot of the back end is going to be kind of speculative because obviously I've got no reference pictures for it. So that's what we're going to do in the next part of the video. So I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so what we've got here is the finished forearm. I'm going to get rid of the pencil drawing so you can see it in its full glory. I did say in the last video that I'm not going to do the toenails. I'll do those now, and then all we've got to do left really is the let's just get rid of those, a little bit of the back leg and this fore back leg. Can you have a fore back leg? I don't know. Anyway, so what we're going to do is just do the nails quickly, polish those off. Oh. Okay, let's see if we can find one that's got a nice colour for the referencing. What I'm going to do is kind of match that one, so that's kind of like got the right colour, so I'm going to grab this and bring it a little bit closer so we can have it next to the nails. I'm not sure if they're, yeah, they go a little bit bigger than what I've drawn. So what we're going to do is just fill those in, and we'll be good to move on to the last section. Again, I probably won't get time to finish it all in the video, so I'll freeze the video, pause it and do the rest off camera. Okay, I'm just going to knock this up to 100% so we can quickly bash in the colour. So, like most, I'm going to put the pencil in as well because I need to see roughly where the lines are. Okay, like most nails, that's what I was going to say. Actually, these nails are made out of the same stuff as their scales, which is basically compressed hairs, which is like our nails. But the difference is it's got a bigger shine to it. It's got a much more shiny surface. Whether that's to do with something to do with the way it's built up, I don't know. Who knows how the cells in our bodies work. Anyway, I'm just going to quickly as I can, because as I said, I don't want to waste too much time on these videos to procrastinate over simple activities. Let's see it. Okay, and the last one. Actually just went too far over the edge there. Do you see that? Okay, and then this one. I've got to be careful of this one because it's actually got a scale over the top of it. So I'm going to make sure I interact with shadow, because this hasn't got the that one's got a little bit of the effect, I suppose. Okay, so what we're going to do is this. So, okay, now this is all ready for the detailing. Now you'll see that most of the colours is just a gradient going down. I don't know whether you notice I picked the kind of mid gradient there, so what we're going to do is to slowly work backwards and do a colorization. Like so. Did I just go over the edge then? No. And you'll notice as well it gets a little bit darker towards the edges, but we'll concentrate on getting the colour scheme right first. That problem with the picker again. Right, now I'm just going to do a big leap here and choose the final colour near the scales. Like so. And once I've got those main colours in, I'm going to switch this to blend mode. Like so, and then what we can do is just slowly move down. So we kind of blend all this together. Making sure you don't get angry at this colour picker. You'll notice you can just see the ridges. You'll make sure you don't have those visible. You'll notice this side, for instance, which will be the flip side, will be a little bit darker down this side. Like so. Like that, and remember I've got to put the shadow in for underneath there. What I have to do is obviously blend everything together as much as I can on the connecting edge. So it looks just really. I'm going to get rid of the pencil layer now, just so I can not be irritated by it more than anything. Like so. And there's a darker of that colour down that edge there as well. And then it goes a little bit darker colour of this colour, because all that area is in the kind of the shadow area. And you just slowly build it all so it blends together. Like so. It's quite nice, this brush I'm using actually represents some of this ribbing effect of the compressed hair on the nail. Every time you hear me tutting, it's because of this problem I've got with the colour picker. Just going to do that there and that there. Just give it a little extra depth. Right, I'm just going to move to give some added flicks of grain. You'll also notice actually this side's got some darker aspects to it as well. So, right, and then I think you'll find there's a little bit of yellow around this edge and this edge. And then to top it all off, you've got a highlight section there, but also it has this kind of, I think it's because it's slightly opaque that you can see a little bit of light through it. So it does that. Okay, and that's your one of your fingernails done. Right, let's just zoom in. I think I don't want to get rid of that for a start. Clean up that. Sometimes I do this at the end, just go around and see what can be smoothed off and corrected. I think it all depends on the size you actually do the object, because this is enormous, this image, so when I'm zoomed out you can't see all that deformation. So what you have to be careful of is to create a nice print from this. You have to zoom in and see how it would be printed at its highest possible scale, and then that means you have to do what I've just done, which is to zoom in and have a look to see if there's any defects anywhere. But anyway, there's the first fingernail. What I'm going to do is just give it a quick pause and then do the other three, and then we'll move on to this bottom leg. Okay. So we've finally done all the fingernails. Let's just get rid of the images so you can see what it looks like. And all we've got now is to do the rear leg. What we're going to try and achieve there is to use, let me see if I can show you the two options. I think I showed you them before. Got these two pictures. The one on the right is going to be quite useful for the actual ridging and everything that we need to do on the actual leg, whereas this one's going to be quite good for the colours, because it matches mostly the colours we use on the other one. Saying that, we're going to probably make it up as we go along. Excuse me. Okay, and I'm not sure if the Not sure if the toenails are going to be the same colour as the upper part or the lower part. We'll have to check on. Have we got the one that we use as reference? Yeah. So let's just check the rear legs. Yeah, they're slightly darker, you see. So we might even use this colour scheme for the nails as well. Okay, let's get started. I'm going to just select it. I'm going to do then is to make a mask, because I don't want to try and go over the edge on a lot of this, because I'm going to bash in the colours as quick as I can to give it the values we need. This is a different approach. I do this on some of my artwork actually, whereas I just know that I need certain things doing, so I map out the colour values around the major points of interest that we've got to concentrate on, like that. And this is a tutting again. Right. See, for instance, it's got that colour there. I won't do it too much, and there's a light version of it going up there. Now you also notice here that this is going to have a different colour, which goes on to that part of the leg as well. And also here, I've got to think about, I think this is all going to be basically black underneath. It's actually inside the shell. But you'll notice, especially on that right photograph, you'll see some bits coming into the darkness. Well, like so. There's even another bit there that's even darker than that. Okay, like that. That just gives it a little bit of added detail as well. Okay, now this part is probably going to be quite shaded, so we're going to have to try and find a shade tone, which is that. And because of the light coming from this direction, like I said, what we're going to have to do is like something like this, and then all this area will probably be in shade or the darker tone. Like so. Again, this will probably be in dark tone because it's under part of the shell. Like so. This will probably be dark. Like so. So this is quite a nice effective way to get everything just quickly mapped out. And again, find a deeper tone along there. That's all that mapped out. This is all going to be this kind of colour. So we've got to, I think it's all from around here. All the way up. Probably even to that bit. So that's the rough guide to what it's going to look like. Gives a little bit of three-dimensional aspect to it. Now, where's the best place to start? I'm going to start at the top and work down. It's probably the best approach. I'm just going to have to take that off, deselect it for a second, because there's a little bit that needs patching in there. Like so. Once I've done that, I can reselect it. Like so. Right, now, as I said, this is in shadow, but only parts of it are going to be deeper in the shadow area. Just going to take that off for a second. What I'm going to do is then find middle tones. And then highlight tones. You notice it does have this kind of, it's a bit like a lizard skin. Has some kind of ribbing, but I can't spend all the time doing every single one of them, so I've got to give the impression of it. You'll see it a little bit here as well, and there, that's the tail, I believe. Okay, so what we're going to do is then carry on that principle all the way around. For instance, if I show you that this area here, even though it's partly in shade, has to have the shade tones applied to it in a different way, because the shading's probably picking up a little bit of reflective colouring from the parts of skin of the animal. Like so. This is when I start dappling now, because yeah, putting a little bit of texture on it's going to make it look a little bit more realistic than just not doing it. So one thing you have to avoid when you're doing these pictures is to be too fake with the flat colouring. Like so. Sometimes these lines, like you see here, it's very fine and then it breaks into a thicker, darker line. That's because it's going into the shade area. So the actual highlight area is going to be a lot less than the shade area, as well as the other way around. You notice it has got multiple lines of interest. Okay. So, okay. So just carry on doing this all the way around. Now I've got to try and think when it's going to be convenient to stop this, so you don't get bored too much watching me just doing the repetitive stuff again. As you can see, this is probably going to go into a lot deeper shadow all the way along here, like so. Maybe even deeper than that. You see, that's gone a very deep colour. So you see that point, we don't want that point, so what we have to do is break it down with a softening effect, like so. Then we can just bring that highlight just to that point there. Okay. Now I've got to carry that on. I'm going to basically try and do this top part of the leg without being on video, and then come back and show you the rest of how to do the lower part, because it will just take too much time otherwise. Okay. It's taking a little bit longer than I thought. It's getting there though. As I said, I'm using the kind of the construction of this one with the wrinkles and lines and everything, and the colour scheme of this one. I've just basically got to this stage and started putting the black dots in. You'll notice a lot of this area is quite a deep tone, so I'm going to what I'm going to do is leave this section near the knee and then do this section here and this section here now quickly if I can, and then come back and show you how to do the toenails, and hopefully we'll be finished then. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to see this kind of ridge here. I'm going to use that as a, no, I'm going to cut into there like that for that line, make it join up to that section there, and you'll notice if I can grab that kind of colour scheme somewhere around there, what I can do is I can just blotch it like I started doing. Make it go darker down this part. Make sure I mask it. There's a kind of lump there. I want to know what that lump is. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't show up as anything. So, as I did with the other elements like the scales and the shell, it's good to do this large amount of colouring in, or base colouring, blocking in, whatever you want to call it, just simply because it saves time. You'll notice the bottom of these tortoise feet are kind of dark. We'll add the detailing later. It's probably even going to go around to being kind of a black colour around here and around the nail. I missed a nail. I've got to keep that on then. Okay, so there's this kind of effect here. You see this line, I can use that as a kind of a point to do some ribbing as well, and I'll do that. I'm going to go against the mock-up that I did, just so I can have something a little bit close to this one. And again, as it goes round, it's getting darker and darker. So this is going to be dark, like so. And all this is going to be dark, but I'm going to have to leave a little bit of edging, or I can do it separately to give the impression of, as I said before, secondary lighting and reflective lighting. Okay, so that's how that's kind of looking. I'll build the rest up as I go along, painting it. But you'll notice, for instance, there's in between the toes and on this one, you will have this kind of deeper colour scheme. I'm going to make it so it does that. This is what's going to take a little bit more time as well, is that the detailing around the toes is a lot more intricate than basically the rest of the detailing around the leg. So it could take a little bit of time to complete that. But I'm just going to patch in the basic look and feel, like I'm going to do with that, and then that. Like so, just to give it some kind of feeling of what's actually on the picture. Obviously this has got to be detailed and everything, but what I'm going to do next is, if I zoom in, you'll notice it's got some lighter tones along the ridges, like for instance this piece here. Like so. Which blends in. Instead of tutting, I keep thinking I'm going to make a silly little noise or something. Makes you feel a little bit better that I'm not actually getting annoyed with that issue with Photoshop. Take the pencil off. Right. As I said, like here, there's certain parts of it are going to be darker. And you'll notice, for instance, there is another ridge, but it's in the dark zone. Like so. And finally, for that area there, so I've got that wrinkle, so I need to have some kind of indicator that it's creating a crease of some sort. Like so. Like so. Okay, and actually what I've got to do is do a little bit more work around this section. Like so. And that's going to just come into a little patch like that. Okay. Now, a little bit of that's finished, so what you can, I want to just do quickly, show you what I do with these dots is just literally just paint them over their area randomly, trying to give a kind of impression of which way the contour's going, because they obviously won't all be circular, exactly circular. Some will be lighter than others, some will be deformed even. But as long as I do that all the way along, some of them I might have to go over a second time just to make them a little bit stronger. And they just slowly go down the entire body, and you notice some of them get a little bit bigger around here, but we'll concentrate on these bits. And as you can see here, this whole area gets very dark down to these scales. Now we can have this, I don't know what kind of colour it is. It's problem is it's got so many different colours in there. It's hard to try and define which one's which. Okay, like so. Zoom in, see what it looks like. Okay, it's slowly getting there. What I will do is complete this little bit here and then go off camera, do some more, and then we'll come back. I may have to finish this tomorrow as well, because I do have other things to get on with which are a little bit more pressing, saying that this needs to be finished as well. But we'll see how it goes. trying to give that kind of minute cell kind of effect by just quickly doing some flips with the brush when I'm painting, like so. And that one has a strong highlight down that edge, like so. And this has got to have some kind of line of cut to give it some kind of validity as a crease. Like so. Now all these see, that can't stay like that because basically it's a curved piece of skin and it's going to go round. So what I have to do is make it so it looks like it rotates around a curve, like so. And then you'll notice that above that it's just highlighted text highlighted texture, like that. We'll ignore that line a little bit there, bring it up this way, and then we can bring that across there, like so. Okay, I'm going to carry on doing this. As I said, I don't want to just bore you to show you the whole process. So when I come back, what we should have left is just the toenails and this rear leg and the tail. Okay, so I'll try and finish the whole of this leg. So next time you see it, it will be ready to complete. Okay, I've been working hard off camera just to get this leg finished. I try to tend to do things quickly because well, better off camera because simply I've got control over what I'm doing, whereas when I've got the video running I'm concerned that I have to make everything correct and say everything properly, and I'm more concerned about what I'm doing rather than actually the actual painting process. So it's quicker for me to work off camera. So you'll notice now that the leg is basically finished. Saying that, if you look at this little area here, press the wrong key there. This could possibly do with a little bit more shade here and here, just to give it that idea that it's kind of coming out of that area where there is shading. Just blend it a little bit better. Okay, and apart from that, I think the leg's finished. Apart from, and I wanted to just complete this with you, the toenails. Okay, you notice also that I've done the tail and I've done the leg on the opposite side, just giving it some kind of highlight relief because it's all in shade. It just helps with the pulling out of the bike in front of it. If it was all detailed like this, you know, it'd get lost with all the crossed contours and everything. Okay, so final thing is, well, saying that, Steve has asked me to add a little helmet, but I don't think I'm going to have time to do it in this video because of I haven't done the actual, if you look at the pencil drawing, which is that, I haven't considered that because it was a last minute alteration, so I don't know whether I'm going to get time to do the actual helmet in this video, but there will be a helmet on the final one in the book because it's part of the policy of America to have kids wearing cycles. So anyway, I'm going to do this and then I'm going to finish off with the toenails, and Steve also wants a background colour of green, so I'm going to show you how to put a background colour in, and then finally we'll try to put the shadow in quickly, which is not a big difficult thing, but at the end of the day it has to be there to make it look more realistic. So I'm going to just zoom in on this set of toenails, put the pencil up, get the leg selected again, which is this one, Okay, unfortunately I selected it with a marquee, so I don't want that. Alright, so what I've got to do now is choose. You see this got different levels of colour on this, so I'm going to choose dark colour, and then I've got 2 layers selected. That's why that error message came up. Don't worry, it wasn't anything bad. I need to make sure I also put on 100 so it eases the pressure of actually drawing it. While I'm talking, it seems like the actual project's moving on at a good pace, and there is a good chance that we're going to get funded, which is nice. So all these pictures won't go to waste, and we'll find homes in a book or on people's walls, which is great. That's what Steve's dream was. Anyway, you'll see there's 2 there, and I wanted to, if you look on here, there's this kind of colouring that comes into this. At the end. Okay, that's this toenail here. We'll do the other bits later. I just want to get the base colours in. Like so. Now, unlike furry animals and even some parts of this tortoise, the toenails are actually shiny, smooth objects. They don't have any, well, they can have little slight defects in the actual contouring of the thing, but theoretically they're just smooth. So what we can do to quicken the process as well is, once I've done the based colour, is to select the layer as a marquee like I did before, and we don't have to worry then about painting up to the edges like I have been on other parts of the tortoise. I don't know whether to call it tortoise or turtle. I actually did a little evaluation, because I said before that Americans call them turtles, and lots of people here in Greece call them turtles, and I call them a tortoise because that is what they are, a tortoise. Anyway, we did a little research. A Greek friend of mine, because obviously most words in the Latin alphabet and language are based on Greek words, strangely, and we found out it actually has a definition different to like terrapins, turtles and tortoises. Now, turtle is the group classification, but it also means a turtle which lives in the sea, and tortoise is a subcategory of turtle, if you understand what I'm saying there. Okay, I've just got to drop down the blending option, get rid of the pencil, keep your fingers crossed that the problem doesn't arise that we have been having with the colour picker. Okay, that's that one done. You'll notice it's got a lot more, and it's also got this beigey colour at the end, like so. That's got some underlighting there, just a very small amount, and then what we have to do is slowly do the gradient up to this point, I think, and then make sure this all blends. That's it. I've been doing claws recently on another animal, which is I don't know. Does anybody know Manny? Manny, the world famous French bulldog in America. Anyway, I've been doing a picture of him for this licensing gig, and doing his claws as well, and it's quite nice actually. It's quite rewarding trying to get the effect that they actually do look like real claws, because sometimes they can turn out to be a big mess. But the thing is, it's all to do with these subtle details that you're sticking in, like this kind of effect I'm doing now can give the impression when it's pulled out that it looks like a real nail, because it's just fine points that all blend together when your eye looks at it from a distance, and makes it look a bit more perfect than if it was just block colours. Like so. Now what I've got to do there is create a hard edge on that. Probably use black. That's it. And like that, just there. Just give that little rippling effect. And now I'm going to go against what it is in the picture and do it a little bit stronger highlight, which will actually help add the effect I want. Like so. Just pick a bit of black, because we haven't put black in there, which will help that secondary highlight underneath. Like so. And there you go, that's one of the toenails completed with a little bit of detail. Okay, and I'm going to keep quiet now while I do the other two, try and finish them off quicker. Okay, now most of this one's black, you see, because of the way that the light's working. So I'm going to just quickly bash that in, like so. Start bringing in the highlight bits. You see there's a bit of dark there, that's from this, so I've got to make sure I don't think that's part of the toenail. Like so. Start bringing that down there, like so. Bring in the colorization there. And then we're going to just quickly do that and that. Because you'll notice this has a soft edge and this has a hard edge. That's where the lighting makes it look like a shiny object. Okay, and you'll notice it has got some of that beigey colour, you can see from the colour picker. Okay, like so. I'm just going to blend that in down there. Okay, and soon we'll be on to the last toenail. So I want to give a little bit of extra flash highlighting here, like it shows on the picture. And then we've got the stronger line of highlight. I think I told you way back on video 1 or 2 that it's amazing how much variation in colours you get, and you don't realise until you use this colour picking option to see that even there's like maybe 15 different tones that you have to subtly blend together to get the effect that you want, which is great if you can achieve it. Just pull that down like that. Okay, that's another one done. On to the last nail, and then we're just got to do the background colour. that's that bit done. See if we can get that dark colour again, which needs to probably go around this part there, and then the highlight. So whilst I'm just polishing everything off, polishing off nails, anyway, I'll just say that, you know, if you're watching these videos and you haven't contributed, then I believe that Steve would like to sell these as prints as well. So if you're interested in any of the animals in the book as a print for your wall, and some way down the line, maybe not until after the book's been published, you know, you will be able to get these as quality art prints that you can hang on your wall. And but please consider contributing, because it is a worthwhile cause. As I said, it's giving money to a charity to help children become aware of how good cycling is through reading books. Books about riding, I assume, like this one, and possibly other books. Okay, so do think about contributing, because it is a worthwhile cause. And it also keeps a poor artist in in work. Okay, so there you go. A little bit of rambling and you get your final toenail finished. Okay, now I'm just going to switch off the picture like that, pull out, and there we have the finished Tortoise. Now I said Steve wanted a green colour. Now what I can do here is I can actually make a, let's just zoom out so I can see the full extent, make a block there. What this does is it allows me to choose the colour. If I go back to, oh, there it is there. Okay, but it hasn't given me the option, so what I can do is just double click on that. It gives me the colour wheel coming up. Now green is in this area. What I can do is move this around. Instead of keep choosing lots of different colours, it's nice because you see a live preview. What I've got to try and do is, if you use a certain colour, the red gets a bit funny around the edges, so I'm going to try and find a green that's going to work well with the red and the Tortoise. Right, I think that's nice. We may change it later, but you know, for me that's working. So I'm going to press OK, and as I said, because it's on an object layer, I can actually make it a different colour later on. I don't have to worry too much about the whole process of frustration of picking the right green and going through that hassle. Anyway, the last thing we're going to do is do the shadow, and you may notice I've actually put it on multiply. This is the way I do my shadows, and if all I do is basically select a mid-grey to start with and use the same brush. Now there's going to be some shadow underneath this guy from behind there. I need to deselect the toe layer that we were doing. This is going to have shadow on it underneath, like so. I'm going to try and make it like it's coming straight down, because I don't want to go through the hassle of figuring out how the shadow is going to be bent through light and everything. So I'm going to try and make it as straight as possible underneath the bike, which will make life a lot easier, like so. Most of this area here is just going to be a massive amount of and you've got to consider this is going to be like this. Don't worry too much if it's too dark at the moment. I can alter that, like so. Also, you'll probably understand that the Tortoise is going to make a softer shadow because he's further away from the ground than the actual bike, which is closer to the ground. So what we can do is something I do on a lot of my drawings, is to do an initial shadow like so, drop down the opacity because it's just a general shadow from the highlight from there, give it a little bit of a Gaussian blur just to knock away the rough edges. And then what you can do is on top of that do another layer, use the same grey, and oops, make sure you see this is what happens when you don't put it on multiply, it goes grey. If you put it on multiply, it basically just darkens the whole thing off. And what you can do is just do a secondary layer, even a third layer if you want to, like so, just to give the depth of the other shadow that would appear underneath the bike, especially around where things are connected, like so. You can do this constantly on top of each other until you're happy with the way that the actual shadow's looking. Like I say, I can drop that down again, and I can do a final one. Make sure I put it on multiply. I'm going to zoom in here because what I want to do on this one is to actually do a darker one underneath the actual wheels, like so, because they are the ones at the point of contact, like so. Just have them coming out of the back a little bit more than it was on the other ones. And if I just zoom out, there you go. It's not a perfect shadow. Obviously, there's a way that this would look if I actually had a light casting down onto this tortoise, but it gives the impression there is a shadow there. Okay, and also I'm not happy with it, so what I'm going to do is do it on multiply again. Choose a lighter grey, and just do a kind of a blend around here. So just give it this kind of impression there is an enormous tortoise on top of it. Don't worry what it's doing because we haven't dropped opacity down yet. I'm just going to give it that same Gaussian blur, and then what we can do is just drop this down so it adds a little bit to the original one. See, it's got to be in between the two. For some reason there's a strong, it's because I probably didn't paint underneath the original one. There you go. Like so. Because they're kind of semi-transparent, you've got to remember that they do have different colours underneath them. Okay, so there we go. That's your finished tortoise. As I said, I will put a helmet on it. I can't do it now because I haven't designed it, and it's not the same as having a human helmet. It's actually got to be styled for the actual tortoise. So I will put one on for the book. But at the end of the day, there's your finished tortoise on his little tricycle having fun. Okay, hope you enjoyed all the process. Hope you fund the project.